welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode 227. Well,
Hey,
there's
I remember
no
that show.
place like home. That was it. With your family around you, you're never alone. Whoa. Yeah, remember that shit?
You know what I remember when that would come on? I go click and go to the next station.
Oh.
I listened to I wasn't Jimmy Walker in that and Wilkins.
Jimmy Walker. What did they get a Good Times years before?
Well, I thought he was on that too. Was Wanda in that one? 227?
Marla Gibbs was in it. Jack Hay was in it. The woman, I forget her name, but she always reminded me of Susan from Sesame Street. I don't know if that was her or not.
That was Wanda Sykes, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I remember that. It's like just like MASH, before anybody calls me a horrible racist again. When I was a kid and MASH would come on, you know, like those opening credits would come on. I'm like, I couldn't dive.
Oh, so boring.
The remote fast enough to turn the channel.
Buddy.
Now, I know it's been held in high regard, one of the best shows ever made. I've never watched it from start to finish as an adult. I probably would totally appreciate it now. But as a kid, I'm like, get the click. Oh, yeah. And I remember when I was like playing the piano back in the day, and I had the lyrics for it as well. And I was singing, not that I could sing, as everybody knows.
You know what they are?
Singing, yeah, suicide is painless.
Yes.
My dad came into the room and goes, I don't know if I like those lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah, suicide is painless.
Yeah.
It brings on many changes, and I could take or leave it if I choose. How freaking great is that? Yeah. If you ever find that, and listen to the lyrics of it and listen to the people that sing it. And if you listen to the people singing it, they sound like the Oompa Loompas did in freaking Willy Wonka. And I'm not kidding. It's like they hired they might have back in the day. It's the same time period. It's the early 70s. I think that the people that sang for the Oompa Loompas also sang the suicide is painless. But do you get any vocals? I don't think you get any vocals
on the show
on that. Yeah,
no, on the show is instrumental.
The
show is instrumental, yeah.
Well, everybody, go look up an Oompa Loompa song, and then as soon as you're done, go listen to Suicide is Painless, the vocal version, and then you'll see. I'm pretty sure the Oompa Loompas, which makes it even funnier, the Oompa Loompas singing about suicide.
I just want you to say Oompa Loompas like 1,000 more times this episode.
Oompa Loompas, such a weird... Oompa Loompas. Loompa Land, there's no such place. I could talk about Oompa Loompas all day. Are you kidding me? Although I haven't watched that new Wonka yet. The Prey, there it is.
Yeah, shout out to Kuno, the Kuno cut.
I told him he should have made that the Kuno cut. If there was a way we could have put something on it. We see again. This is why we should be in business.
I can't.
Exploding Head should be able to sell the Prey, the Kuno cut on the bottom. Put our own thing there.
We could be even more terrifying threads, or even more rotten rags. That could be our name. Yeah,
Rotten Rags. Yeah,
isn't that the actual name?
Well, there's Fright Rags.
Oh, I thought it was Rotten Rags.
Oh.
So I actually just created the name.
Yeah, it's a combination of let's see. There used to be a company called Rotten Cotton that's not around anymore, I don't think.
Maybe that's what it is. Rotten Cotton and Fright Rags.
Yeah.
Rotten Rags.
Now there's Rotten Rags, although it does sound a little bit like
that's what my wife has once a month.
Right. Rotten Rags. That'd be a great name for like an all-girl band.
Low-hanging fruit.
Metal band. Rotten Rags.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, we're always coming up. But we're always coming up with shit. Anyway,
Kuno. We just never deliver on that part. We deliver on the show. That's enough right now.
Well, here's the fucked up part. A lot of people that are heads of industry and that are CEOs and everything else, they sit around and they have ideas, and then they have a fleet of people doing it for them. So we're halfway there.
I know. We're at that presidential level. We just haven't worked our way up to it to give the ideas and then go, okay, now make this a fucking reality, everybody around me. That's what we need. We need everybody around me that will make it happen. I could stay in a broom closet on the side of the room and just come out, shoot a bunch of ideas. I go, make it fucking happen.
Right. Buddy, I'm with you.
All the best. Everybody that shits on Elon Musk, Elon Musk is not a dumb guy, but yeah, the truth of the matter is he really didn't invent all the things he's famous for, but he came in at the right time, probably gave it the structure it may have needed, the guidance it needed, and then made the people that were there do it. Is that bad? Not necessarily, because it happened. But people that like to shit on people like that, not just Elon Musk, anybody like
Everybody
that, is because
they
never, exactly, that's just human nature. It seems like, just why not put that energy somewhere else, like in a podcast? No, into something else, maybe more constructive as well. But
yeah, but okay, it's still a podcast. At least people are still listening and commenting and enjoying it, as opposed to any jerk can make a comment on social media or on Facebook and this and that just for the sake of being negative with no ideas and just shitting on everything, which you see all the time.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, somebody shits on it. Somebody could say, hey, a great thing happened. A great thing happened last night in wrestling or something. You know, there was Royal Rumble happened to be last night. So that's a good example. So-and-so made her appearance finally. Okay. You know, someone's going to say, oh, well, she's not very good or this or that or this. It's just like, nobody can just let anybody just enjoy what they want to enjoy anymore. It's like, well, social media, the concept is a great thing. Share things that you love. The real basic shit. Here's some animal pictures. Here's some this. And
we've talked in extremes on the show too, but the reality is, I don't think we ever were like, oh, you're absolutely insane for, I mean, we've made the joke about that, but I don't think we've actually ever thought it and whatever. I mean, no one hates, like, at the end of the day, Brandon or you never hate it. If I said I like something, you'd mock me for it, and we do the same thing back and rib each other. But the goal at the end of the day is, if you like it, you like it. Who gives a fuck? Like, you know, I might make a joke about you and your wrestling and whatever back in the day, but do I really care? No, of course not. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. You're gonna watch it. My buddy made a charcuterie board. I saw him posted on freaking. I was gonna make fun of him for that too, for Royal Rumble last night, because he's a big fan and he loved old wrestling and he loves new wrestling. He was the one that wanted to do the wrestling podcast. I said, dude, I know nothing about. Is George the Animal Steel still around? Like, I mean, like, I know nothing.
I would love to do a wrestling podcast. Love. But the thing is, I don't like the new stuff. Granted, I watched the Royal Rumble last night because I like the Royal Rumble match, and they have two of them now because they have one with females and one with males, you know, and they do their thing. And it's fun. It's a fun match to watch and whatnot, but it's like, I don't know any of the storylines. I don't know this. I don't know that. I'm going to watch this. And maybe WrestleMania. Maybe. Problem with WrestleMania is it's 2 nights now. That's the problem with everything these days, is that everything has to be bigger and better than the last.
Like a trilogy needs to be 4 movies now. It's like they before we're getting like, well, that's everything had to be a trilogy? No, not everything, because now we're going to make it 4 movies.
Right. Come on now. Right. It's just too much.
Are you kidding me? I think Twilight was the one, not the first to do that, but I think one of them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't even Twilight. I think they took 3 books and made it into 4 movies. Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2. I think I'm going by memory here.
They pulled a Potter.
Oh yeah, they did it too. Maybe
Potter did it first.
Yeah, with the last movie, with the last book, right?
Correct.
Too. Motherfuckers.
Deathly Hallows. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know, but the thing is, WrestleMania, it used to be a 2-hour event. Then it became a 3-hour event. Then it became a 4-hour event. Then 5. Now they have it on 2 days. You have a Saturday WrestleMania. Yeah, but the thing about our show is I bet people have fun with it. I mean, people have fun with wrestling, but nobody wants to sit there for 2 days. I mean, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't want to watch 2 days of WrestleMania. I don't. I want to have one day where the casual fan, someone like me, just like the Super Bowl, where the casual fan could have an excuse to get together with friends.
Yeah,
let's watch WrestleMania or the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But now WrestleMania has 2 nights. So how do you pick which night? One's a Saturday, it's stupid. It's just, and nobody cares except the diehards, which are the only ones watching it. But it's like, they don't need to do that. But anyway, not to go off on that, but I would love to have a wrestling podcast because of all this stuff. But the thing is, I would have a following like of weird, like I would.
Do you know enough of the new stuff? Because I was telling him about. So by the way, full disclosure, I've started a podcast with him. He wanted to do a podcast. We're doing it's not about wrestling at all. It's called Pretty Bad Movie Gab. We've only started recording, so the episodes will maybe come February will start coming out. And so it's a movie podcast, essentially, stemming from nostalgia of the 80s and 90s, but I'm trying not to do any horror. The downfall is you can't avoid it because it started with me wanting to get my two friends that are not they like horror, will watch horror, but they're not diehards by any means, but to get them to watch movies like Sleepaway Camp again, like Blood Rage, like that, like we will know people that love those movies or hate them within our community, but normies, as we like to call them, like they would typically not go down those paths or
Right.
seek those movies out. So I really wanted to get their take on them. So I'm not going to say that that's what, like, we started the first episode's American Ninja. The second episode is Toy Soldiers from 91.
That was a serious film, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're not talking like we're just it was more not just crap, quote unquote, like just movies that we think were forgotten, or that could have been B movies that just from our nostalgia and childhood. That's kind of what it is. So very similar to what we do, except we've taken it and we have a nostalgia portion because we're talking about things that we love from when we grew up within the genre or music or whatever it may be. But then we also talk about modern. So that's something else I've it just started. We just started back in January. I was going to mention it last show, but we were doing the year end. So I just figured I'd wait till we got onto this one. So yeah, we've recorded 3, and then so the goal will be, depending on their short form, thankfully, so that they could be more consistent.
Well, that's one way to do it is to have it a short and just short. That's the thing. I was even saying last night about doing a 20-minute podcast with Greg Amortis, because we were talking about wrestling. He was watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Last night he said something about something. He goes, not spoiler, but is anyone watching this? You know what I mean? And then we talked. He knows that I'm going through the old stuff. I started in 1984. I am now at 1988, November of 88. So coming to the close. But I also decided to go back to 1986 after I did all this other stuff and watch anything that I may have missed. So now I'm stretching it out even further on my free time by myself. The other stuff I do with my friends on Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah.
But so I'm going back and I'm watching these B shows and these other ones that were just run by WWF.
Oh, Brandon has a show?
I'll watch this. Yeah, imagine that with wrestling. Brandon calling a wrestling match. That would be awesome. Oh, shit. So I'm going back and watching that, and he goes like, man, so he said something. He goes, I wish I would have started with you when you started it back in 84. Not back in 84, back when you started watching 1984 wrestling. And I go, well, if you can get the discs and we can do it, watch it, we'll do it, and we'll watch an episode or two, and we'll have a 20 minute.
Do it. You've been talking about this for years.
I've always wanted to do it. I can't produce, as you know. I need someone that can do that stuff. And the problem with modern stuff is a lot of people online, or people that used to be online when I was, I guess, on social media, more than half of them still watch it, where I don't. And I have too many things to say about the modern product, and I believe I'm justified in it. It's almost as if my love of horror movies being what they are, if all of a sudden a horror movie started focusing on something completely different and they were presented a different way and everything else, and it's hard for me to react to make a decent comparison about what happened with wrestling back then compared to now. But if that happened, it would bother me too. I'm like, what the hell? Horror movie used to be this, and this. This shit's terrible. You know what I mean? So
it's become a caricature of what it once was. I mean, which is weird to say because it was always kind of like bigger than life. It always seemed like a caricature. It always seemed like a live action cartoon to me. So I don't know.
It's not.
Now it's
not bigger than life.
Oh,
now it looks faker than ever, but it's more athletic than ever because people are saying they're positioning themselves because they do all these crazy moves all the time now.
So it's more gymnast style.
It's like watching Cirque du Soleil. It's all about the gymnast part of it. You know what I mean?
They come down in like little wraps, like little curtains, and they come into the ring. That'd be awesome. That should be someone's entrance. Like,
probably it's not. Probably will be. See, and it's half of it is about their entrance too, and their music, and then they get in the ring, and then it's good ring work, but there's no drama in the match, and there's no good characters to build up, and half the guys look like, I don't want to say you or I, but they don't look menacing. They look like someone you could bump into at the gas station, as opposed to larger than life.
Hey, buddy, fill it up regular.
Yeah, seriously, they
I
just
don't know
look
where
like
that came from. The gas station got me there. Oh, that's crazy. But
I can go on and on, but I won't. It's a big difference. Now the emphasis is on different things. So it's tough for me to sit there, and I understand why people still watch it, because they feel like they want to belong to something. And I get that. And they've been watching wrestling for so long. So now they're going to have to focus on this aspect instead of this. It is a little cultish, because all the people that watch it are, not all, assholes, but mostly men of a certain age, a certain demographic, and they're all about. It's hard to explain, but whatever.
Well, what about having B back? B coming back last episode. It's funny, when he does come back, it feels like no time's gone by.
True.
Which either says that, like, we just are great, trifecta trio, or that his opinion doesn't matter on the show and we don't miss it. So that when he comes on, it's like he's always been here, because it's like nothing.
Well, people always talk about it. Of course, his jokes. People say his jokes come in and this and that. And he does. Absolutely. He's quick-witted, Yep. I'm slow-witted at this point. Shit. I don't know what I am at this point, to be honest. But what's going on with my brain?
What the hell are you guys watching? You're watching 2011's Left, Right, and Center. You're doing a 22-shot show. I'm kind of glad I don't do those anymore. I just can't pile on more than the slashers. I'm already feeling like antsy with the slashers, yet I'm watching them.
Right.
I'm watching them. And in this show, thank God, we're doing like a kind of an old and a newer. It's not new. It's not like new this year or new last year, but it's within the last 2 years. And I don't know why we're being cryptic. We're doing Tourist Trap as the old, and we're doing Sissy as the new.
Yeah, and very different styles of slasher, if you will, and which kind of inspires a nice conversation about what used to happen in the slasher realm and kind of what happens now. And I've been thinking about this as I'm watching this, because I've been watching 2011s, yes, of course, and I've been watching slashers. So many. I'll probably look at my numbers and just to see where I'm at and how many. Oh, hold on.
Look at those numbers. I just I drew a comparison, funny enough, between, other than them both being slashers or slasher-esque. And I'm not, this might be like, of course, Christian, like every slasher or every second slasher will have this moment in it, but it's the way the moment's presented. And this particular moment happens to be that the one character that's in distress faces the other one that we know is the killer or maybe the killer, but the actual person in distress is not 100% sure yet. And they use the term, I think we should call the cops. I mean, I understand there's a moment in most of these movies where we should call the police or whatever, but it's just the way that the two characters, and they're in Tourist Trap, and two characters in Sissy are in that exact same situation where the victim can't exactly trust. So there was a parallel. Remember, we used to do that there was some sort of connection. I mean,
yes,
maybe I'm stretching, maybe I'm not. Maybe, like I said, that's too on the nose, but I thought, like, as soon as I saw it, when I watched it, I'm like, hey, that just happened. Maybe because I watch them back to back as well, but yeah, I noticed it. It's just
I watched them back to back too,
and
didn't notice it. So there you go. That's good. That's cool. Wow. At least some things are still the same, while other things are much different. See, I almost feel like we could probably okay. Everything I said about slashers in the past, and I said, okay, and I did it on the Jay the Dead show, and I said this and this and this and these. I've come to realize that there is a difference. I'm going to now call those traditional slashers.
Yeah, you're not married to it being one thing or whatever.
It's traditional.
There's evolved. There's evolution
it's not
within the
everything.
subgenre. Yeah.
It's evolved, but it's also, you can still see an old school slasher in these days that it's presented in the same old school formula of the 80s. Some movies do that. It's a mystery. The guy has a mask on. Something happened. You know what I mean? It's very much like a Friday the 13th type thing. But we're seeing more and more in other directions. You can see different stuff. It's expanded more. It's almost like, and I don't love using this term because it's really overused, I think. But it's kind of like it's under the umbrella. And people like to say that about like fringe horror movies, that these movies are under the umbrella of horror, so we're going to include them. Yeah. And I think that's good. Nothing wrong with being all inclusive. That's fine. And if I'm uptight at all, it's because I always try to make my lists as pure horror as possible because it's a horror show. But I have no problem with other people doing what they're doing, but you could say it's under the umbrella. Well, now I'm realizing that slashers, like I said, traditional slashers are probably only, if you think about it, like 50% of them. If I tell you this qualification, this, and this, all these 6 things or whatever, make it a slasher to me, that's probably only about 50% of them, but once upon a time, that was 80% of them. It's just that was the 80s. You know what I mean? So now as time's gone on, the 90s slashers, the modern slashers, etc., they've done different things. And I guess maybe because I love the 80s slashers so much and it's what I grew up on, and it's to me, the truest form of slasher, this is what I gravitate to, and this is what I want to see on the screen. But
I wouldn't shit somebody for putting, like we said, Maniac essentially came out as a slasher.
It should be a slasher.
Yeah, and it's slasher kills. And now I'm even thinking like the Christmas Evil. Yeah, it's not presented. It's more of a diseased mind standpoint, and there's only a certain portion of it. But what else? What subgenre would that really fit into? Because people have released it under their slasher umbrella, no pun intended, when it was like 88 films.
And the picture.
Yeah,
it was marketed as a slasher.
Or Christmas Eve. It was totally marketed as such. So
and then we kind of felt like the rug got pulled out under us the first time we watched it. At least I really believe that to be true, because it ends up being this character piece. It's not a slasher at all. See, okay, you just said it was. So maybe I shouldn't say it's not a slasher at all. It doesn't, especially for its time.
I wasn't going to include it, but I can see people including it just based on the time frame when it came out, based on how it was marketed, probably to capitalize on the slasher genre. And so within the start of the heyday, because that would have been like, in that first sort of realm, it came out and it was in probably trying to get that same market. And some people that went to see Silent Night, Deadly Night came out years later. So let's say Terror Train or Prom Night probably went to see Christmas Evil as well, because they were just, starved for another slasher flick, whatever it may be.
Christmas. Yeah, at the time it was an especially great gimmick because Halloween came out in 78. So let's do more holidays. So let's do a Christmas horror movie. We haven't done one in a while. Let's do it. Let's market it like this. And they put it on the box and it looks like it's a guy in a Santa suit with an axe coming around chopping people up. That's really not the case. I don't think that there is the one kill. It doesn't see, I guess
it's that one scene where he kills 3 people. Well, he kills the guy with the star in the house. So he kills that guy, the coworker. Then he pokes the guy's eye out, hatchets the other 2. So there are at least 4 deaths in the movie. I might be forgetting one, but there's 4 deaths in the movie. But 3 of them happen. No, it's not. It's atypical. It's not
right.
But is it under the umbrella, if you will? I can't.
It can be
mad at somebody. I might when I'm going through them because of the rules we've instilled, even though we are broadening them now and allowing people to put them. But I'm talking about the franchise rules. I'm talking about over 3 films. That's we've already started narrowing them down. Hell, if we said anything over 2 films, or even like Terror Train would be out, then there'd be even more movies out of the running because Terror Train had a remake and a sequel. Both of them cheap jack remake sequels, but you can't. That's what I'm saying. So right now, Terror Train's in. Terror Train is in because there's 3 films within said franchise, even though someone else could come on the show and argue that those two new ones are not franchise and shouldn't be considered as such. I'm sorry, but the name's in there. And if we wanted to be assholes about it, that movie Train that came out that has really nothing to do with it, that was that started as a pseudo remake of Terror Train. But if we could go in the weeds with this and make ourselves crazy, so there's going to be a certain allowances. But yeah, if there's over 3 for, again, the other one that pops up is that I Know What You Did Last Summer. Well, they had a whole series after the 3rd movie, so it's out, it's gone. You know, much again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Carly's,
and that's fine, and we'll have to say that at the top of that show. Yeah. See, these are not going to be. We know everybody knows what the franchises are: Friday, Halloween, etc. The ones that are long running. But keep in mind that some that you may not realize have more than 3 properties. These are them. Let's get them out of the way, and that's a good one.
Slumber Party Massacre. Slumber Party Massacre had that reason. You could thank Tubi, guys. I think Tubi was at the helm of all those remakes. Maybe I'm wrong about Slumber Party, but Slumber Party, Terror Train, and Terror Train 2.
I wonder what they had to pay to use those titles for a Tubi original. You would think that they would be half their budget because it probably costs money to freaking say, "Hey, I want to call my movie Terror Train."
Do you think that the Terror Train property? I don't care what your thoughts are of the film, but the Terror Train property was that big. Like no one was that. I gotta admit, if you wanted to be the Michael, like if you wanted to do something in this genre, that would be divisive. Some people would absolutely hate it, and others would. They've already started doing it. They've been doing it for 2 decades now. Is remake every slasher film that didn't have a remake, and that's pretty much what we've been getting. We've gotten it now with Terror Train. We've gotten it now with Prom Night. Well, Prom Night, that one was even a weird one because that wasn't really a true blue remake. So they could literally revisit Prom Night. Did you watch it?
No, but I'm going to. It's on my list. It's slasher. I got to check it out. As long as I look at it.
Even though it doesn't account. I've been doing the same thing. Like Prom Night's on my list of watching.
Oh, it doesn't count. Yeah, well, I'm not watching it. What am I thinking? Sorry, I'm still not watching it.
No, I put everything slasher on the list. It's research, but then again, once we instill the rules that now I'm being a little bit pickier because of the fact that if it's over 4 films or over 3 films, what's the point for our show?
But I do, at the end of the day, being more inclusive is probably the way to go, because it's now I find that I'm doing what I'm doing with the 2023 movies. Is this horror? Does this count? I don't want to do that. It's too effing much. I don't want to. I would just rather say, okay, I'd rather be all inclusive with slashers and the hell with it. Let's have Maniac in there. Let's have this one in there. If it's under the umbrella, I just think it's much easier because too many people are going to listen or have opinions, say, well, they forgot about this. I will still, it doesn't matter because it's a franchise, but I would still die on the hill saying Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not a slasher. And I still feel the same way about Child's Play. Just because it's a killer doll movie to me, it falls into 2 genres. It doesn't feel like a slasher. Now, recently I watched Humongous, which I always figure is a slasher. I've only seen it, 3 times total in my life. And I did it for on Jay of the Dead. We had to make a pick. Long story short, I was trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I had to pick. I'm like, well, I'm going to pick a slasher.
Please tell me it's not.
So I can do a slasher here and knock it off our list. It's a 2 birds, 1 stone, So
is it? Because I've heard it be called the slasher, but I remember watching it and I just thought it was dreadful. I remember it being a lot in the dark. It's gotten better as remakes it's
not great
evolved, but I remember it being like a deadly dull film for the first at least half. And
it's not great.
But is it a slasher?
Great. Well, here's the thing. This is what, because it feels like a slasher to me, and in every step of the way, it has all these tropes and it's kids. I'll just tell you this. You have 6 kids on a boat. The thing crashes. Whatever. They're on an island. There's a freaking a slow, deformed child who's grown up, whose mother has passed on. It was just him and her, much like Friday the 13th. And this killer is living there, and they get killed one by one.
Slasher.
A lot of them are off-screen deaths, and they're not very slashery deaths. So it's like, So now this is what Jay said to me, because Jay's great. He wants to, I don't want to say antagonize, but he likes to poke the bear a little bit about, because he knows
antagonize me, motherfucker. Get in the ring, motherfucker.
Fucker.
I'll kick your little ass.
Punk. Awesome. That's great. But Jay likes to take me to task because of my rigid description of what counts as a slasher. So as we're talking, he says to me during the review, he goes, well, Dave, let me ask you this. Do you consider this a slasher? When I think of the methods these people were killed, I don't think there was any sharp objects used. And I'm like, I never thought about that. But the problem is this. This feels more like a slasher to me than what else were we just talking about? Christmas Evil.
Okay.
When I watch a slasher,
I'm gonna rewatch it too.
I'll
rewatch it.
But the thing is,
don't want to, but I gotta
if you're gonna get technical, well, it's worth it to see the beautiful lead actress. I'll tell you that. But I mean, it's and the end part with the Friday 2 callback, which is kind of interesting. But I think he's right. It isn't really a slasher. It's a horror movie disguised as a slasher setup, but it's not, even though they are getting picked off one by one, they're not sharp objects. And I'm like, and they're off-screen kills and other things. And I'm like, but everything else about it feels like a slasher to me. It feels more like a slasher than, like I said, than the Christmas Evil or something new that it might have come out, like a newer slasher, like Open 24 Hours or something, which I enjoy. But no newer slashers from the 2010s feel like 80s slashers.
Well, no, because they've got the glossier look, and even the ones that are trying to mimic it, they overdo it. Like those, the third Saturday and Sunday or whatever, the ones that are the third Saturday and Sunday.
Awesome. The third Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday in October or whatever it was. Those ones, like I told you, there's 2 of them. And I think if someone, like, you have to watch the five because they made a joke. There's 1 and 5. And I think you're supposed to watch it 5 and 1. That's how you're supposed to watch it. But I did it the wrong way. I did it 1 and 5.
They came out?
Yeah.
How were they released?
They're on
No, what I'm saying is,
I don't know.
How were they released?
I don't know how they were released, but I believe, no, I think they came out simultaneously. So I think JP mentioned that the way, and if you read up on it, I think you're supposed to watch it 5 first and then 1, I think. But I didn't. Again, I don't think it matters. But
it's like the Marvel universe.
Yeah, 1 is okay. 1's all right, but really draggy. But the one thing that they tried to do is they, all those little small scenes that, like, I guess give the old movie's character that some might find boring, but kind of are what gives, like, again, they give it kind of a charm where you're with the town folk or the town. They do that, but they may spend way too much time there. Whereas I think they just needed to know when to cut it short and move on with it. That's why part 5 was much more enjoyable, because it's a lot more slashery. But it's heavily processed to mimic the look of the older days. And again, if you're gonna, there's got to be this happy medium. Do you want it to look like it? So, like, Sissy's a perfect example. Sissy has no interest in looking like an old school slasher. It's bright, it's vibrant, everything we're going to be talking about later today.
But it's not comical. Like a lot, that is the key. That's the biggest thing, dude. That's the chemical X in modern slashers that freaking makes it feel like it distances itself. It's still under the umbrella of a slasher, and it still is a slasher, but it doesn't ever, and I hate to say it, it's not their fault, because the first movie's great, but I blame Scream for what's happened with it's like it did change slashers as we know them. The thing is, now too many people to this day feel obligated to put comedy stuff in their slasher, or do like what we did with okay, maybe not comedy, but what we're doing now with, like, the one with Kieran Shipka, Totally Killer, and Happy Death Day to You.
It's a slasher. Back to the Future meets Back to the Future. It's a slasher meets whatever. Yeah, I get mashups.
Yeah, so they're now we have slasher with a mashup of something else with a sprinkle of comedy. So that to me is, I don't want to say it's too far removed from traditional slashers. That's just the term I'm going to use now, right?
Well,
but it just,
you
that's
gotta,
why it doesn't feel it to me.
you're not gonna
Humongous feels like
make
a
anybody
slasher.
help. You're not gonna make anybody happy because they were filmed during that time frame. Now, when we're doing it, we're trying to recapture the essence or the nostalgia and the culture, the pop culture of said time frame, which is why people dig Stranger Things, but then you have people shitting on it because it's like, oh, it's just, it's just capitalizing on this, that, and the other thing. You can't win. So we're going to that you could stick, it's like almost too many pumpkins. Now, any Christmas movie or any Halloween movie, everything's souped up to the max with the decorations.
Yes.
And the feeling like, if I can't have one leaf on the ground, it's got to be like, I want people to be like stomping through leaves and whatever. And then there's going to be 1,000 pumpkins. Shout out to Brandon and whatever. Or a Christmas, everything's going to be souped up if they've got the budget. If they don't have the budget,
that's capitalism.
Usually have like the old crapoli. A couple things in the background, the plastic pumpkin sitting on my bed there, whatever it may be, glowing in the night. But we're back in the day, it was just natural. It was just you've got it. It was shot on film. We know it was shot on film, unless it was a real cheapo, very slim picking shot on video from back in the day. It was shot on film. So even if it was horribly put together, it was shot on film, and that aesthetic already carries a different feeling to it alone compared to the shot on digital. Now you can mimic it, and some movies have mimicked it better than others, but it's that balancing act of where do we go to keep it in the sense of reality, to give you the feeling that we're back where we are. Some people are already over it. They want the modern ones, but like I agree with you. I think what I'm looking at is how do we make it look old school, but it's taking place in modern day.
Shoot it on film, like I've been saying. And some people can do it. Some people have the luxury to be able to shoot it on film, but you can't. That's the thing. See, so instead of just having a movie that looks like everything else, I think that they overcompensate by saying, well, we can't shoot it on film. It's not going to look like an old school slasher. We're going to make this look like, modern times and add the modern spin to it and make it very colorful, and we'll put computer stuff in it. They always have to have computer related stuff or freaking Facebook or social media on their phone. They're always doing something in these modern slashers, which I understand that is our modern world. We have no choice but to acknowledge them. But I think, what the hell was I watching recently?
Can you see two extremes? We're doing real two extremes today. 1979, grainy as fuck. Even with the new Blu-ray, it's still like that film elements of Tourist Trap haven't been taken care of very well. And then vibrant, colorful, bright, not one, not other than the end credits try to mimic like an old school look or like VHS or whatever. At the end, everything else about that movie is vibrant and bright and in your face. It's two absolute extremes, and they both work. But it's funny, they like in that regard, they couldn't be much more than polar opposites, and just from the aesthetic, the look of them.
That's true.
I believe Sissy, don't quote me on this. I think it may have been shot on film. It's an Australian movie, but it said Panavision at the end. It said Panavision. So now I don't know if it's Panavision lenses. Like again, I don't know what Panavision means nowadays. I'm not invested into it as much as I was back in the day. But when I went through the credits at the end, it said Panavision. So I didn't research it any further than that to see if were they the cameras, or is it just a lens? What did that entail? But it seemed like it was the whole enchilada.
Wow. Well, have to look into that. The whole enchilada. Shit. And something else about Sissy, it goes against what I was saying before would be where I would consider it a slasher with the traditional rules, much like Maniac. And you look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, you can't be that uptight. To me, these movies are slashers. They feel slashery enough where I'm like, okay, someone's going here, they're going off, they're getting picked off one by one. What else do you want? How specific does a slasher have to be? I just don't like it being all inclusive, because then you have people stretching everything to fit into a slasher, just like a lot of people do with a horror movie. They want to say, okay, we're going to claim this as our own. Well, I'm like, I want to make sure I feel it's a horror movie, but at the same
I'm glad we're talking about this though, because we started the show. We started the show with the 227 reference, not realizing that, hey guys, we're officially in Year of the Slasher 2. Part 2.
Yeah.
This is like we actually
you're right
about it, but this is the first official episode of Year of the Slasher Part 2. So this all makes sense that we're going to be talking about this as we continually watch slashers. It's not the only thing we're going to be doing, but we're going to be building them on it. We're going to be like talking about it because we're going to be building to episode 250, which is not going to be at the end of the year. It's going to be coming closer to it's going to be more than mid. But it's going to be, I think we said September range.
Yeah, I believe that's when it would fall. If we have no hiccups. Yeah, that would be great. We'll see. I'm glad we are having the conversation. There's more to be said. There is a lot about slashers where it shouldn't have to be a what do you call it? It shouldn't have to be that tight about classification. You do what you want to do.
I'm gonna watch and judge, just like you said. I'm gonna watch Humongous now.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna watch Don't Go in the House again. Or don't go in the house. Because I remember that being more like Maniac-esque, where it's like a diseased mind, or more like Christmas Evil. But I'm gonna watch it again just to see. Let me make a definitive stance. Nope, this is just something different, or no, this can easily, I can see how someone would put this as a slasher movie, although we're seeing it through the eyes of the killer constantly. Where there's a new slasher movie I just heard about that is either already played at a festival or will be played at a festival. Totally forgot the name, sorry everybody. And it's the POV of the killer, not POV camera shot all the time, but we're with the killer through the whole movie, which is something we've said we would love to do, which is like, and I always joked that it'd be kind of funny following Pamela Voorhees as she was, trying to string up Steve Christie into the trees and all that shit, like the B footage, or Jason setting up the chat in the woods going, this is going to be great. It's like Court Birds. This is great. This is great. And all that behind the scenes stuff, or 100% from the POV of the final girl. I think that's, and those are the takes we're getting now. I think people are like, okay, we still know that slasher movies beloved by a lot, not everybody. Some people still classify them as the lowest common denominator of a horror, which I hate, but that, there are people like that. Let's just face it, that there are people that, there's nothing there. But ultimately, how do you change it? Well, you do the mashups, you do it's the slasher meets Back to the Future, or you could do these spins where it's kind of like, all right, we're going to take the slasher subgenre, but we're going to shoot it from the POV of the killer, or let's do it from the POV of the final girl, or whatever it may be. So I'm not against that either. It's a great way to give us a similar take, but from a different perspective. So I'm okay with that. That's great.
Tell you what I would do is this. I would make two movies and I would shoot them simultaneously. One is the POV of the killer, the whole movie. And the other one is the POV of the final girl, the whole movie. And release them separately. And it's the same time. I have said
that
this
a drama movie did this a few years ago called don't forget your thought. You've been saying it for a few years, but I just want to go what you said. It's called I believe my wife loves it. The Disappearance of Elizabeth Eleanor, or Emily Eleanor, something to that effect. There's a his, a hers, and a them. And what I mean by that, there's a version that is cut, or a they. Well, I don't know about a they, but a them. Yeah, this is before pronouns 100%.
Okay.
So his, of course, is his. It's more to his point of view. It's edited and shot from his point of view. So it's a
fictional story.
Yeah,
right?
this is okay. We have the Blu-ray. So the Blu-ray has all three versions of it on the Blu-ray.
It's awesome.
His version, you've got the point of view from her version. separate movies. Like these are, so it's the
Right.
same movie, but it's just the way that they've edited
Right.
it and whatever. So you've got her, him, and then them, which was the one I think with the theaters, which was the more like we're watching it as the third party watching a typical movie. But I love that idea. Now I don't know if they released them all at the film festival, different versions, or if they were released on video, different versions. I think it was you're all in, but they had this idea that they could be presented different ways, and that was the ultimate way to kind of experience the movie, which I like. So I get what you're saying.
Great.
Perspective of the serial killer, or slash perspective of the final girl, and whether or not you want that one that showcases it from the more traditional standpoint of just us as a voyeur watching.
Right.
Everybody.
Well, that's great too. But
Very
I've
personal.
always thought that it could be a blockbuster idea, and I'm surprised no one's done it. Watch someone will do it now. I always thought it would be awesome to have like freaking 3 people travel, okay, all going to the same destination. Let's say it's like a Lord of the Rings thing. You know how they had a destination at the end, they had to get to the thing, and we are kind of following. We're following Schmiegel's there, his route a little bit, Gollum, and then we're also following, you know, Frodo. So we are following them at the same time, though. And then they at one point they meet up and everything, and everyone knows that. So anyway, it would be cool if there was like a destination where these people are supposed to face off. Maybe they don't know they're going to face off, but maybe there's a destination for 3 different characters to go. And we make it a blockbuster. And the first movie comes out, and the next year the other one comes out, and then after that the third one comes out. But here's I'll take it a step further.
We make a fourth one.
Every movie, well, we do make a fourth, but let me explain what it is. The fourth is all 3 of them together, and what happens when they get together all at the same place at the same time, and they have to, you know, deal with that. So it's like you're seeing the voyage of 3 different people, but they're all going to have the same ending. They're going to be combined in the final. I think it's a blockbuster idea for a freaking franchise. And I can't believe no one has done it. I mean, you could easily do it, especially now with these Marvels. You would think that in these Marvel movies, they could freaking as many, because it seems like they add another superhero every other day. Oh, now we got Train Man.
I was thinking kind of like what they're doing with Saw almost, or what they've done with Saw. So now they're doing it with Saw as full movies, and it's we assume they did it with Saw 10. We're assuming Saw 11 is going to follow this. We don't really know anything more about it. That they're going back into the timeline and filling in gaps, but they were doing that within the actual franchise back in the day anyway, where they were doing, that's what made the sequels so cool for some people, whereas they would go back and then show how they set this up for part 1, or they set this up here. And the second scenario, the B scenario. And again, you can almost say that in Trick or Treat within that movie, but I know what you're saying. You're taking it like more grandiose and following the thing, but it's almost like take Trick or Treat, and we're getting everything kind of from different perspectives. But what if like one movie was just as that couple or whatever, because or the vampire guy and like what he's gone through and how he gets there and then ends up becoming like werewolf fodder at the end, whatever it may be. And then the next movie is done that. But I love that. I love that scenario B or whatever it may be. Resident Evil did it. Resident Evil, the video game, part 2 was probably one of my first experience with that, where you played the game as one character with interactions with another main character, and then you finish the game and it says now play the game as the other character, and it was slightly different, same overall process with a few detours and differences because you're with this person now, but then you had a different ending, and then you fought somebody differently in a different area, whatever it may be, but it was different enough that you wanted to experience it, but you also got different cutscenes because of who they interacted with on their journey. But so how character A got there, how character B got there, and on top of it, there's a little girl in the mix, and she's character C, let's say, and then you play her, but throughout the game a little bit, and you get a little bit of her scenario as there. Resident Evil kind of did this back in the day with video games. So it's interesting because it's that scenario of why haven't we done this more with movies? I'm sure there's other examples out there that we're not thinking about, but it hasn't jumped on board. And you're right, Marvel, it seems like it's made for Marvel.
Right.
Since the Marvel universe and all this, the different
there's a million freaking
dimensions and all this
superheroes.
shit. Yeah.
You could be a superhero tomorrow. Seaman. Okay. This guy did this and this, and he bought some glasses, and something happened, and now he has X-ray vision, and he got a freaking concussion, and as a result, this happened, and he's a superhero. Okay, and I could be a superhero too, some strange way. But
some strange way.
I want to go, as usual, I want to go another step further. I want to have scenes in my trilogy, actually quadrilogy, where
gotta milk that fourth movie, like we said earlier.
Of course, well, because the fourth one brings them all together. But like, I want to have scenes where people are going to pop because they're going to see this. You are going to see the first movie, and you're going to see like our lead, our main character having to contend with certain antagonists, right? In a room or out in a field or whatever, and something big going on there. And then at the same time, when another movie comes out, we're going to slip it in there that this character from movie 2 was also at the same battle. But people are going to catch on to it halfway through the battle. They're going to be like, wait a minute. And then you're going to see something way in the distance, like the color that guy wears or something from movie 1. It could just be an
explosion or something like that. Like something depending on where it is, that is just, they could be sneaking by. They could be in the, in the foreground, and we see this battle happen in the background, and they're just trying to get by it, not being undetected, so they can bypass it.
That would be great too. But imagine if that person inadvertently did something to either help or hurt, protagonist number 2 in the second.
Well, that could be that third group that you're there if they happen to be there too. But it depends on how many times these guys intermix. But it was
very rare.
It's
just going to be a scene. I just want to give people the reaction that I love when I go see a movie where I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? You don't get and that's why I don't watch trailers. And that's why I want because then you rob yourself of those great moments where all of a sudden someone walks onto the screen, something small, just like a cameo appearance of somebody, a legacy character, and some other thing comes walking. I don't want to know this shit. I don't want to know if Hoffman or Amanda is going to be in Saw 11. I mean, why wouldn't they? Bad example, but I'm just saying I don't want to know any of that stuff.
Sorry, Marco alert. Hoffman was mentioned. Sorry, Marco.
Sorry, buddy.
He gets very mad about Hoffman being in these episodes.
Sorry
for cutting you off. You don't want to know it. I get it. Yeah, but you're
because
also
you rob somebody. Of a moment. We as freaking fans of movies, how do you not understand that feeling that it gives you when you're at a movie for the first time, going in not knowing anything, although maybe no one does that, so they don't know. But that experience we used to get when you go to the movie before social media and you see, and then something happens, you're like, oh.
Did you know? I mean? Did you know Amanda was going to be in Saw 10, or did you just know that Tobin Bell was coming back to reprise Jigsaw?
I assumed
okay,
she was going to be there, and I was hoping for Hoffman. Now, I don't know what got released. I have no idea.
Well, I think we were told, we kind of knew Amanda was going to be in there based on the trailer. I'm going by memory now again. But Hoffman was teased. Like I was thinking, I go, that sounds like Hoffman's voice in the trailer, but I wasn't too sure. Couldn't be 100% when we saw the movie. I'm like, well, he's talking to the detective. I go, that's cool. That's got to be Hoffman, obviously. So that's great. But then we do get some, there's way more Hoffman. We're going to talk about Hoffman for a bit there, Marco. Right. Sorry. Plug your ears. Finish fuck.
Awesome. Yeah. Could you imagine? Like, I see you knew. You knew about Amanda.
I knew Amanda was going to come. I was, again, was I 100%? I can't remember what the trailer showed. Maybe I wasn't 100% on it, but I was suspecting that it was going to be like they were going to do it. I'm not maybe they didn't spoil that in the trailer. again, I do watch trailers, but I can't remember now because they did two things there. They released this trap, which ends up being revealed as a dream, the eye sucking trap. That was like, you know how some new movies now, I think one of the first to do it was actually 28 Days Later, where they showed the 7-minute opening.
They did that for Maniac too.
The
28 Days Later was sooner. That was
28 Days Later was
2012.
Yeah. So they did that. I remember they released it and said, "Here's the first 7 minutes of the movie."
That's
I thought
cool.
that was weird at the time. Like, what? But that was like to say, like, look what we've done, because there's a combination of like that sort of apocalyptic feeling, the fact that they were showing shots of a single person walking through deserted streets of London. So it was kind of like a marvel of how did they achieve that as well. So good idea. And you're right. I remember they showed the first little bit of Maniac because I did watch it.
I didn't watch it. I wasn't even interested in it. I remember at the time I was mad. I was like, what?
That they were remaking it.
Not that they were remaking it. Maybe partially that they were remaking it, but the fact that I heard who was the star. And I'm like, wait a minute. How the hell?
Well, yeah, didn't he prove you wrong, though? Isn't that great?
Yes, he sure as hell did. Yeah. Right. But that was Elijah Wood's first, I believe now, when he first started venturing into genre films.
Well, he was I think that was the Thriller with Macaulay Culkin, I guess, when they're younger, The Good Son or whatever.
But but I mean, since he's become, since freaking Lord of the Rings and all that, since he made a name for himself, and I'm like, and then I'm thinking, okay, so the kid from Lord of the Rings is gonna freaking be in a horror movie. I'm thinking it's gonna be, tame, shitty. How do you have Maniac with a freaking A-lister? Or you know what I mean? So I'm thinking that at the time. And I'm realizing that I think he formed that group, Spyglass Entertainment, or whatever it is. That's his project, and it's genre films. But I think this was the first time he got involved in it. So now people see Elijah Wood and horror, like, oh yeah, cool. What's he gonna do now? But at the time, that's why I just was like, what? How are you gonna remake this? And how is he gonna be in it? And what can they possibly do? It's great to be proven wrong.
And there you go from a POV standpoint. That was, for the most part, for like 98% of that movie, it's from his point of view. There's a couple of shots that deviate, but I think they give the explanation as to how. But that's literally POV. Like, because I was wondering how they're going to do that as well. And they succeeded, but like anything, just like the gimmick we were talking about that I shit on a little bit about the no talking of the two movies that came out last year, No One Will Save You and Silent Night, they still deviate from their own set rules and gimmicks because they realize how fucking asinine it is. Like, again, the only way you could do that is almost make it a silent movie. In a sense.
True.
That's not like they were deaf. If they were deaf, that would be a good way to present it.
Boy, would it. Yeah, for sure. I got to tell you, I've been listening to all the year-end shows from different podcasts,
Oh, people love that movie, man. It's on almost everybody's list. Everybody's list. Yeah.
I am shocked how much people love it and love the ending.
And Brooklyn 45, but don't get me wrong. Brooklyn 45, I liked Brooklyn 45. Brandon surprised me with that as number one, but there's a lot of people that have it as number one or in their top 10s. I wouldn't shit. You had on your top 10 as well. It was your number 2 or 3, right?
Probably number 5 or 6. I don't know.
Okay, it was
not 2 or
3. Anyway, like, no, and I liked it. So I'm not shit. I was just shocked at how well it resonated with a lot of people, but so be it. Like, again, I can't go. I like the movie. Again, another 7.5 out of 10 for me. So it was a good movie. No One Will Save You. Like I said, love those first 20 minutes. I will take nothing away from those first 20 minutes, but then I just got bored thereafter. And now I'm a broken record like I usually am.
Well,
but that's it. And that gimmick really wore thin. And yeah, unfortunately I let it get to me. And it started annoying the shit out of me by the mid-range mark. And then so there was no coming back after that. Like, after something annoys you and it's still prevalent for the majority of the rest of the film, you're like, what the fuck?
Well, I knew that going in. As good as I am about not seeing spoilers, somehow certain things leak and I find out, and I heard that people weren't, and I was actually kind of excited at the proposition. I'm like, good. If it's one person alone, I don't want talking. Now, to me, see, and this is a fault that I have in my character when it comes to watching films. I like things to be as much like real life as possible. And when I see something that plays out in a movie and I go, well, that's how it would be in real life. I love that. But other people that are movie fans like to say, well, yeah, but this is a movie. It's supposed to. And I'm like, yeah, but.
And I've argued both. I've argued both. I love the Brian De Palma direction where he freezes time and we get a moment in that like Carrie, that just like that whole sequence. Like there's directing and then there's having an idea and then there's forced. And, you know, Brian Salmon's had this, I mean, he's not the only one, but he's articulated probably the best as to how I think about it, and he loved the movie or really enjoyed the movie. Whereas it feels very forced, because it is very forced, that it bothers me. Like when there's interactions in the film where they go like, I'm like, they would have spoken there. Then just don't have those scenes. Like it's just like, I get maybe you're not going to talk to yourself. Like I talk to myself all the time. We had this argument already. We had this discussion. I would have made it, but you would have been like, oh, that would have happened. No one would have like. I'm not saying enunciate or speak like exposition. But at some point you'd be like, what the fuck? What the hell's going on here? And whatever. And I get like maybe some movies rely too much on that, but this is the total extreme the other way, where like the grunts and whatever just seem forced.
You might be right. I don't remember. I've only saw it.
I'm in the minority. Same with me. And like I said,
the ending turned me off so bad.
Carrie and I were like this for the first 20 minutes on the edge of a seat. Brandon cracked the joke. Man. That's why you didn't enjoy it. Like it was so good. So good. Like 9, 10 out of 10 for the first 20 minutes. I can say that.
I felt that for 40 minutes. I was freaking on board.
But then it just was the first 20 minutes repeat. So then I was like, okay, already now I've lost time. Like, what are they doing here? It's just it's repetitious. And then of course we've got Muty McGee not saying anything. And then then I just fell off. So then it lost me. And I don't want to go on it because I don't want to beat a dead horse. But it ultimately, I'm shocked to the extent that people love it, but I'm totally in the minority. This is like, this is one of the more recent movies that I'm totally the opposite of what most people think. And it's not just the ending. The ending was the icing on the cake of just like, the fuck, for me and for you, evidently. But yeah, like 9 or 10 out of 10, and then like woo, right off a cliff.
I love alien antagonists, because you've heard me. There's been so few movies where they've done it right and made it scary. That shit's scary to me because I could see it happening. It could happen now. A dark cloud could come over my house. I could go outside and there could be a freaking ship there. The thought of that happening,
it scares me, but then there'd be a little bit of a relief too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there would also be
this credit card off after all.
What's that?
Oh, I don't have to pay this credit card off at all.
Well, sure, and we all get to die together, which is not such a bad. It's less scary when it happens together. Same thing with I was watching Kill List, and there's this one scene. You've seen Kill List or no?
Yeah, we watched it for the show. We've done it. We've reviewed it on the show. Yeah.
What else is new? So this is the one scene where he busts the one guy, and I believe it's a priest or something, and he gets it in his room or whatever. And the guy, he has a gun drawn on him. I think the guy just turns around and says, "Thank you," knowing that he's about to get blasted in the brain. I kind of feel that way too if it were to happen to me. Number one, it isn't that I want to be dead. It's just that I fear a prolonged death.
Yeah.
If I know I can be blasted in the head, and I said this,
busted in the head.
That's why you gotta hold it blasted in your head. Yeah. I give a shout out to the living dead. Yeah. So
I'll just chime in with one word every now and then. Yeah.
Awesome. So, bust it through your head. So we're watching Sopranos, and
so gonna bring it back in.
Yeah, that's how I get my mind back in. And there's this one scene in the early shows where Brendan, this guy, gets killed. It's Chrissy's buddy. in the bathtub, and the guy walks in. Mickey Paul Meese calls in. He goes, "Hi, Jack," because he looks up. He's in the bathtub, smoking a cigarette, chilling.
Yeah.
He opens his eyes and he sees his killer there, and the guy says, "Hi, Jack." "Bye, Jack." Boom! Shoots him in the eye. Guy freaking dead. Okay, and after that scene ends, and I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I go, if I knew that I was if this happened to me tomorrow, I'd be okay with that. This is how I want to die. I want it instant. I
Take notes, so listeners.
So no matter what, please, listeners, if there is a psychopath
don't take notes. I don't want to be held accountable for this.
Just don't do it in front of my family. Don't do it in front of don't want them to see my brains on the floor. But if you can see me out somewhere, although I don't go out. So if you want to stalk me for weeks at a time and see when I actually do leave my household, and you can follow me somewhere and just back of my head, I don't want to know, just freaking boom. Just
hi, Dave. Bye, Dave.
Bye. That's fine. I don't even need hi, Dave. Bye. I want a complete surprise. Boom. Back of the freaking skull, under the chin, instant death.
What if it happened Sissy style though, and you're still alive enough to like pull the bullet out of your head?
Oh, could you imagine?
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But holy shit. No, I'm not. You know what? I keep glancing at these, and I mentioned Carrie earlier. We'll bring these out since we're talking.
I was wondering what the hell that was. Oh,
that's the Carrie. Arrow. That's the Arrow special, the 4K special edition.
Wait a minute. I got Carrie on 4K.
Yeah, you've got the Scream Factory one.
Is that what I got?
And I had the Scream Factory Blu-ray, which is a 4K scan. I didn't buy their update, but I had to get the Arrow one because I love the packaging of those.
It's right behind me.
I love it.
Packaging is amazing.
Yeah, you got a slip cover. You've got their hardcover case here, and of course you've got everything slipped in here. Reversible cover. So you can have the new art, or you can have the traditional art, which everybody loves, which is Carrie standing up at the prom, no blood, full blood, exactly that cover.
It is Scream. Okay, I didn't know who made it. All I know is it was the first one.
You can flip this around to have that cover as well. Of course, it comes with the poster, lobby cards inside as well, and this is what they've got, the booklets with the essays in it.
See, I don't need all that stuff, so it's okay. I don't care about the books, and I don't care about the lobby cards. It isn't that I don't care.
Then you can get. It's just that then you've got it. Then you've got the Scream Factory one is probably. I don't know if it's the exact same scan, but I'm sure it's close.
Well, that's fine with me. I don't need all that extra stuff, especially because they're going to charge you $20 extra for it.
Yeah, I didn't buy that one, but then I'm like, you know what? This is not astronomical. I mean, Arrow's not inexpensive when you do the exchange, but it wasn't astronomical. And I prefer their special editions, them and Second Sight, much more than Scream Factory, to be honest. And Scream Factory have got dinged on customs twice now, so fuck them. It's not their fault, but it's just the way we work. And then, of course, for the slasher show, I've got the special edition of High Tension from Second Sight. And
really?
That one, yeah.
Awesome.
And that one's it's same thing. So you get a huge booklet with essays in it as well, lobby cards, and then you've got their double disc where it's in there, Blu-ray and 4K. So it's a really cool set. I love Second Sight and Arrow. Definitely do both. Amazing work. Amazing limited edition things. They're not inexpensive. I've already stopped. I've ordered some that I pre-ordered way back when that are coming, and then that's going to be it for a while because I'm going to go back to my roots. There's too many good things coming out, too many other things that I'm like, oh, I get that. And I'm like, when have I watched that movie in the last 10 years? Maybe once. So I'm like, I've got to be a little, that collector mentality is what kills us. It's like a gambling mentality. Yeah, I gotta do it. I'm going to cut back. You mentioned it, I think, a few shows ago. I'm going to do it too. There's a handful. I got 3 more releases coming, and I'm cutting it off. One of them.
Dude, I'm so lazy. Sorry, you got more to show. Show it.
No. I'm not one more to show. I said one more being Train Spotting 4K, which I love that movie. One of my favorite films. So I had to get it in 4K. I had it on the Criterion on Laserdisc, and I have the Blu-ray version of it, or sorry, the DVD version of it, I think Criterion. So this is the Criterion 4K. So that I got that one coming. Yet Follows special limited edition, and Inside, which is just
Awesome.
Blu-ray, B
Right.
region Blu-ray, but it's a special edition. Then that's it. I'm cutting it off for a while. Even though I've
That's
seen some
okay.
amazing releases being announced, it's got to be cut off. Or I'm
No,
gonna
you
go
got to do it. I hear you. And I have
roadhouse.
credit cards, and then when I pay them down, that's what's going to be used for buying movies. It's just strictly for buying movies. Because that's all I'm going to be doing with them, because they're going to be paid off almost, but I want to keep them alive because, you know, it's good to have action on your credit cards. So I'm going to keep them alive, and that's how I'm going to keep them alive. For each card, I'm going to buy a movie, one a month.
That's exactly it. If you just limit yourself, my problem is I'm like, oh, the shipping. I don't want the shipping comes down a little bit, and I don't want to be dinged every time for shipping.
Canada gets
Well,
screwed. I know.
You know what though? It's like, okay, so I do have to pay like 10 bucks more, maybe, if I just did it one. So that's the other thing. It's just, okay, stop buying them in packs of 3 or 4. Just buy one every 2 months or something like that, or every month. That's manageable, more reasonable. There's just too many fucking great announcements. And sometimes if you don't latch on to one, it might be gone. It might be sold out. But you've just got to limit it. Yeah.
See, we've been having this discussion on physical media versus streaming on Jay of the Deads, and it's going to be like a 3-part thing. And everybody's gung-ho about freaking streaming, about collecting, because we're almost everyone on that show collects. Not everybody. Watson doesn't. Not every person does. But Dr. Shock, he is so strong into freaking collecting that, well, it's just that he's opposed to, and I get it. There's too many streaming platforms now, and I'm not going to pay for something that I don't really own and everything. And I 100%
they don't have everything. Like no one has everything, and there's no magical streaming platform that. Well, yeah, but then that's slightly nefarious in the sense that you're paying for a system. You're not doing anything wrong other than accessing the system and watching movies as a streaming service. But the reality is that someone has sort of created that behind the scenes by pulling from here, there, and everywhere to make it work.
Right.
So I get it. And that's I agree. I wish there was some magical solution that you could just.
Well, there is for all of it.
Would I pay $50? I would pay it. But I don't mind going legit to have that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I told you, the Arrow site was doing some things right, where they were allowing you to access the extra features of some of these special editions, because you're only going to probably watch the extra features once, maybe twice.
Right.
Does anybody go back to them numerous times? No, probably not. So all these are great, but they're kind of like books. They look great on your shelf. You're going to pop them in to watch the movie, maybe watch the special features once or twice, and then you might be done with them. I might leaf through these essays once, but you're right. I get it. Like, I like the packaging and whatnot, but if that's not for you, they've got the regular version. They've got the 4K regulars for most of these as well. That's the one thing Second Sight and Arrow kind of does, is they just release the standard version.
That's great.
On Blu-ray and on 4K. So you can get it with the special features that are on the disc, but just not all the extras. Which is
problem is, it's great, but they're just too damn expensive. And that was my complaint. This is why I'm in the middle, like everything, like politics, like religion, like just I can't subscribe to one. So it's the same thing. I'm like, yes, I love collecting, but yes, I know that the world's changing and there's only going to be streaming, and more independent movies, horror movies. They are not going to go the disc route because it's cheaper. It's better for them. It's advantageous for them to freaking stream. And that's the way. Just look at music now. For the most part, it's been going for so long. I mean, and then someone, well, yeah, vinyl's coming back and this, and I go, yeah, but what are you paying for a vinyl? You're probably getting raped the same way they're raping us on these 4K friggin' versions, where they're charging you $50, $60. Just because I don't want to stream and because I want to stand up for the cause and own physical, doesn't mean that these people that are putting it out should take advantage of me. So they're screwing us just as much. Don't kid yourself. Spending $30, $40 on a vinyl, you're getting freaking raped. I used to buy cassettes for freaking $7. I used to buy records for the same price. When CDs first came out, $10. And it was that way for a while. Now, I mean, come on.
You're not wrong, but you always have to go back. Back in the day, VHS was sometimes $59.99. Usually I'd start buying them when they're 20. They were $29.99, $24.99, and then $19.99. Then you can start finding some at $9.99 and $14.99 when they become a little bit more mainstream. But when I went on my, like I've talked about on the show, my Laserdisc situation back in the day, those ones were all $59, $69 for the most part, unless they got them on sale at Christmas, or if you got special editions, like I said, like 99, 129, and so when you think about it in that regard, even with the exchange rate on these are almost steals for what you're getting now. However, they're still expensive when compared to Blu-ray and some other ones. And that's why I'm saying Blu-ray was great. For the most part, Blu-ray is all you need. As long as you got a player to play them, which are a dime a dozen right now, you're fine. 4K, it's a little like, thank God I've got a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox that could play these physically. But having a dedicated 4K player will cost more, and eventually those are going to be phased out. That's what you're going to need if you want your physical media to be able to be played later in life as well.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing, because then those 4K players or anything else, well, that will be astronomical as well. But I'm just saying, I get it, and that's why I'm taking a step back a little bit as well. But it's about just being smart. And again, there's so many, if you wait a year, you're like, oh my God, there's like 20 movies I would like to get. But remember when we started this podcast, I pretty much switched. I think I was already switched to 100% digital. I had my old collection back. I had sold some of it off and whatever. And then right before COVID, I think it was 2019, whatever it may be, I started collecting slowly. And when COVID hit, it just felt like I was collecting more and more and more. And it's just been this last 4 years that have been brutal. So from collecting in a good way, I'm happy with some of these things.
Yeah, sure you are. Right.
But then the pocketbook's not so happy. So that's why you just a happy medium, happy balance. But some of these you're not going to be able to get on all streaming. Some of them, because you can thank Tubi, you'll get them with commercials or whatever. Like Tubi, Tubi is a fantastic service if you think about it in the big picture. Like, I mean, what it has is the equivalent of going into your big store video chain back in the day and going to the horror section. The downfall is you've got commercials to go through when you're watching it. They're not that bad. It's a minute.
Not bad. I go on YouTube, which, by the way, they finally offered it to me. They gave me 2 free months from YouTube Premium without commercials. So I'm going to take it. And I just started it. And what I'm going to do is this. After 2 months, they lowered the price. It used to be like ridiculous, $18.99. They lowered it to $13.99, which is still ridiculous to a degree. But what I'm going to do is, I have the date written down here. It's going to be let's say April. Oh no, that's a doctor's appointment. YouTube, March 26th, because I signed up on January 26th. So on March 25th, I'm gonna freaking discontinue it so I don't get that automatic charge of $13.99, and then see if they offer me something cheaper or something and try to get me back. But the bottom line is this:
they usually do. But
I hope they do. It's already a discounted price at $13.99, but maybe they're figuring out that no one's going to pay that much money. But I don't subscribe to any other streamings that I pay for anyway, except Prime. So it's like, okay. And I pay for Peacock for the wrestling. It's like $5. And Paramount I get through Walmart, because I'm a member of the Walmart. Everything else I don't have to pay for. And then I have everything on MB. So that's fine. And I've gotten so lazy now that if I'm upstairs, I won't even come downstairs to grab my Blu-ray if it's on MB. I'll just be like, fuck it. Especially because I can watch it at 1.25, which I've really been taking advantage of with the slashers and the 2011s. If I can watch an hour and a half movie in an hour and 8 minutes, I'm going to fucking do it and not even really notice that it's sped up. And I do.
It's funny. I know some say it's blasphemous. Some say, you know what, like back in the day,
you don't even notice it.
You don't really. Exactly. You don't. Speaking of which, we should probably jump into these films. Not that they're going to be long
no,
reviews,
but still.
But we should probably get into it. But no, always great discussion. But yeah, it's I'm not against physical media by any means,
Hell
but I
no.
am against,
I'm
I
for
agree with
everything.
you for those expensive prices. I mean, I'm a sucker for certain
Right.
ones, but I'm not going to
Right.
get it for everything. And Blu-ray, the great thing about the more and more 4K gets released is the Blu-ray equivalents come down in price. And they were already great to begin with, for the most part. For the
That's
most part.
true. It does help. It does help. All right. Hey, did you ever hear this movie, The Holdovers? Really quick. This will take 2 seconds.
The Holdovers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's
I saw it.
people are
Yeah.
blowing it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah. The
newer
Paul
movie.
Giamatti one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
we
just
just
saw that he
watched
was in
it.
it.
We just watched it. It was on Prime or whatever, or I can't remember. I saw it. Yeah, or
Oh,
we
okay. Well,
a
I didn't know
theater or
about it.
Prime. I can't remember what it was now. No, I saw the Iron Claw in the theater, and we saw
Oh,
that on TV. Yeah.
yeah. I'm waiting to see Iron Claw at home, but I'll see it. So The Holdovers, I didn't even know it existed, and I was on what do you call it just now? Letterboxed to see, and the stuff comes up popular among friends. So this movie, I see it, it's The Holdover. And as soon as I see the poster, I think of the Brady Bunch movie. See, and tell me, see this? See that poster?
Yeah.
Right? The second I saw it, I think of this.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, the Brady
Yeah.
Bunch movie. I don't know if anybody made that connection, but as soon as I saw it, I thought of that poster.
Honestly, I could probably say this with 100% certainty that you were the only one. but
I had that
but
kind of
that's a
mind.
great catch. Like that,
See, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. I can't remember shit. My mind is fucked. But I can
remember
see something from a freaking movie from the 90s and remember what the poster looks like.
The Brady Bunch, no less.
The Brady Bunch movie, which I don't own, and I've probably seen it on cable once or twice. It's not like it's special to me. Like I know the poster, like it's up in my house. You know what I mean? But I always do that. That's why I am the way I am with fonts and freaking the way posters look. It's like I have this eye for detail about.
Did you ever watch A Very Brady Christmas? Did you ever see that?
No, but I will in my lifetime. I almost watched it this year. The thing that bums me out is they didn't bring back the original Cindy. They brought back a real pretty girl who was actually very pretty, but it wasn't Cindy. And I wanted the original cast. So, but I probably saw it in my youth. Anyway.
Okay, here we go.
Slasher stuff. Yeah.
Tourist Trap 1979. A group of young friends stranded at a secluded roadside museum are stalked by a masked assailant who uses his telekinetic powers to control the attraction's mannequins. And I'm happy about that because I got to ask you, did they explain his telekinetic powers in the movie?
It's not explained.
Yeah, but because
just has them.
Yeah, he has them. Okay, because he has to have them. So this is essentially a blend, everybody, of Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Carrie meets the House of Wax. It's like a mashup, no differently than Totally Killer, I guess, is a mashup. But back in the day, so no one was really shitting on them as much. It's shot on film. It's got decent performances by everybody involved. It's dark, it's secluded. It says it was rated R, but if you actually read the comments, it was rated PG. It was the first sort of PG rated, like this, and like because I think Poltergeist was PG-13 or possibly PG, but like those are the two that are probably the scariest PG movies that I can think of from back in the day. And the reason I say scary, if you think about this movie and you're young, with the mannequins. And just it's creepy, man.
Sir.
And it's still creepy. And the music.
It is. Yes, yes. All that stuff. 100% has that feel. Has that freaking feel of a late 70s, early 80s movie where things can still actually be scary without having any comedy involved in it. And again, a PG movie with not that much violence doesn't need to be freaking that way, just like the Asian movies that were made for TV, the Ju-on. And if you can do something that way.
Oh, he was on last episode. Oh,
what was?
The Ju-on.
Oh, the Ju-on.
I never cracked those jokes. That's a Brandon specialty. He's like, hey, enough about me. That's like the first one I think I've ever cracked on this show. If you go back it's either Brandon cracking them, or if Watson's on the show, Watson cracking them.
True. You're right. It's not me. I know that much. That's awesome though. But here's the thing. So that stuff is scary as hell. That opening scene, every time I watch it, especially the opening, and even again later with the mannequins, just, dude, when they're laughing and moving back and forth, there's just something genuinely creepy. Like I put myself in that person's shoes, I'd be shitting my pants. That is so freaking scary. And there you go.
They've got a jump scare that is sort of like the equivalent. Maybe I'm overblowing it, but I mean, where that guy, the first guy, when he goes to the house, he's just trying to get his tire, get some service to help the friends, and he goes in and he's locked in that room.
That's him.
And you know, and this side this happens, and this side that happens. There's a window smash. He gets scared. He opens a door. There's a hesitation, and then this fucking mannequin propels out. It's like the equivalent of like the Exorcist woman going across the screen. Almost, like it's scary. It's a jump scare. I mean, like that's why I said maybe I'm blowing it a little too much, because if you said what's the best jump scare in a movie, you talk to 10 horror fans, probably 8 of them, if they're older, will probably say Exorcist 3, the glide through of the frame jump scare. But that's just sort of that exact same thing where there's like nothing, and then boom, it just propels out and scares you, as if it was like a cheap jack haunted house that you go to from back in the day. But it's even more upsetting because this is happening to the guy. He doesn't know what the hell's happening. But then it's almost unexplained until we just find out that this guy has telekinetic powers, because things are being thrown off shelves at him. And you're like, well, how the hell can this happen? How can the hell can this happen? And then you're right. There's on-screen stabbing twice, maybe thrice. Yes, thrice. But the bloodletting is very minute. Very minute, like just a little bit on the hand, or you see it dripping out of the pipe. Like
which is a good kill.
Yeah, very light, but there's death. So you were worried that this wasn't going to be a slasher. Now that you've seen it,
I think it falls under the umbrella because of that kill that you just mentioned, the opening kill with the pipe and the blood coming out, and then there's one other kill later
of the gorgeous, beautiful girl that she gets the knife in the back of the head.
That she does. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Tanya Roberts. Stunning.
Oh
my God.
We talked about this. I think it was on the 50th Slasher Show, because I know we had this discussion before, specifically about her and that outfit that she wears. Those should come back in style if they haven't.
Oh, I know. Right. 100%. If I was a female, I'd be doing it. If I had the body to do it. That's just it. If you can rock it, then friggin' rock it. Now don't get me wrong.
The problem is, I know, I'm going to get myself in trouble, because the problem is the people that rock them now should not be rocking it.
Sorry, but true. I wouldn't rock it.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I'll say it about myself too. I can't rock it, but people get everybody gets their ass like all tangled up, and they get all butt hurt because we're body shaming. I'm just saying, well, yeah, I guess we are. There's no.
It isn't shaming.
I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm just saying, if you know what, it's nowadays. There's people that are like, well, I'm proud of my body, so I'm going to showcase it. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't.
I agree. That's the problem. Is things go too far in the other direction. It's like me. I'm not going to walk around like this flexing, because I don't have freaking big muscles to flex. I want a bodybuilder can do it. Fine. But am I body shaming myself because I said I'm not going to walk around flexing? No, I don't have the proper things to show off. It's like saying,
I got pipe cleaners.
I'm going to drive by this place with I have a Cadillac or a Lexus or, a real nice car. And I'm going to go to a place and I'm going to open the hood and I'm going to go to one of those meeting places to like a car show and bring my nice car. You're not going to bring your freaking beat up 10-year-old freaking hoopty to a car show. It's the same thing. If you don't have
I could wear a Speedo, but I'm not gonna.
Sure, I could.
Exactly.
But correct. I'm not going to. It's just,
anyway,
I'm not gonna,
we don't have to defend ourselves anymore. Our audience knows us. I guess this is when it goes up to the mainstream. Goes, these guys are assholes. Yeah, we are. You haven't noticed? It's episode 227. You haven't realized that by this point.
What's wrong with being honest? There's no hate and there's no disrespect. There's nothing wrong with being honest.
That's it.
So,
but
yeah,
yes,
Tanya Roberts.
She didn't have to worry about this. Yeah.
No, she didn't. She died. You know what she died from? She had a urinary tract infection and got sepsis from it. And this is the weirdest thing ever. I never heard of that happening. And then 2 days prior to this, I was watching this video on YouTube, and it was about porn stars that have passed away and how they have. And there was a list of, like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 porn stars. And one of them, just one, died the exact same way. It said urinary tract infection led to sepsitis, passed away. Like, this girl was in her 20s.
Dave, I know you're not on social media as much, but if you go to our YouTube comments on the last episode that was uploaded to the quote unquote masses, there's a few comments, and the last comment was, Dave, I'd like to know your list, because I guess it was when we were talking about your list of porn stars, which we did
I didn't do a porn stars list.
You didn't do the porn star one, but I think you talked about doing it on that show. So he wants to know your list. So if you want to go to that comment and make a list, it's there for you. You just made me remember it based on your conversation right there.
I love lists. Lists are for dummies, as Moose says, but I always say I'm the biggest dummy then, because I do love lists. Lists or ratings? What does he say? Maybe both, but I love them both, so that's okay. I could be a dummy.
Anyway, yeah. No, this movie has that atmosphere. It's got the look.
Yeah.
It hasn't aged well. Like, I mean, I've got that uncut Blu-ray that came out. I guess the last release.
I guess it really isn't uncut either. It was bullshit.
It's not. It's like 3-4 minutes longer, and I don't even know what it's. I wanted to do a comparison, which actually on Tubi they've got both versions. They've got the 75-minute version and the 79-minute version. 4 extra minutes. I don't know what has been changed, because it definitely didn't look like any of the kills were any different.
Right.
I'll probably have to just read it, but the look of it is good enough. You could tell that this is not going to be cleaned up. I don't know if any 4K release will be able to make this look any better, nor necessarily should it. It's passable. It works. And it wouldn't be one, just like I would never get the Madman 4K, because why would I?
Yeah, agreed.
There's just certain ones that if you've got the Blu-ray or DVD, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Definitely.
So, but this is all about atmosphere and performance. Like, Chuck Connors does a really good job. Again, based on the fact, if you're just coming into this movie and you're a horror fan and you're going back to check it out for the first time, I don't know if the reveal is really going to shock you or surprise you. But it is a mashup of all those movies I mentioned earlier. And it works. And that, I think they use it just perfectly that you almost feel like they could have used it. If this was made now, that would have been so overused. It would have been it would have been the everywhere, but it's almost done only in certain sequences. But holy crap, does it add another element that is just creepy. You're wondering if Maniac stole a page from this, although this was only a year earlier. But mannequins are creepy. And we get them
100%.
We get them in Maniac, and there's another movie that I thought, I'm like, wow, they might have tore a page from this as well.
Possibly. You know what that thing reminds you of that you were saying earlier, when the thing jumps out of the closet in the face? It reminds me of that scene in My Buddy Valentine, but the guy he dies that way, he pushes in, he makes himself laugh. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing, isn't it? The thing jumps out.
Yeah.
So he was almost setting up a Halloween prop. But Forest Trap has the Erwin Yablans freaking thing on it after Yablans
Internet, and it's Charles Band production. I don't know if this is before Empire though, correct? It wasn't Empire, because it was International or Intercontinental or whatever it was. It was
Intercontinental
or whatever. Yeah. I might be making shit up now. And then Chuck Connors. Chuck Connors, Pino, from Carrie fame and other things.
Yeah.
Great music.
Yeah.
It definitely. Now, I was curious. I'm jumping all over. So there's another thought. I was getting into Chuck Connors, but I'll start here. What about the comical interludes of the music? They do them a few times here.
Yes,
What's
they
funny,
do.
We'll shit on like a Halloween 5 for doing it, but it's in this movie too. And it was in um Last House on the Left, and it was also in that other one, Town to Dread at Sundown. It's funny, just seemed to be a sign of the times where they'd be like, okay, well, it's not necessarily over the top comical, but something kind of funny or something kind of weird happened. So we're going to put this like ba-ba-ba-dow kind of soundtrack on it where it's like comical music, but it doesn't ruin the movie, but it's there. It's in there for sure.
But it's still off-putting. It's comical, but it's like kind of weird music. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it isn't as egregious as freaking clown horns and clown noise.
Yeah.
And the thing about Halloween 5 is the things that they were saying too. Oh, yeah. Save cats from trees, this and that. We're here to help. So they were doing comedy even before the music came in. So I just think they pushed that envelope.
They're a comedy tour in the town.
It was too much.
Yeah, I just noticed it was here. Like, I wonder how. Like, as soon as I heard it the first time, I wonder how Dave is gonna. I think they do it two times, possibly three, but two times for sure.
Opening credits, they do it, and then they did it again later. And I can't. But it was the scene between him and I won't even say it. But he was talking to someone else at the table. That shit's
wouldn't have that been creepy through the opening credits still too?
Yes,
it's 100%. So weird that they save it. It's like.
Right.
A part of me respects them for saving it, but then part of me is like, nowadays that would have been like, there's our theme. Like I want to rip it off and create it because that's the creepiness is amped up with that alone, and then the close-ups of the mannequins, and then the fucking extended mouths. You got gosh! You got the Flanagan mouths on these mannequins.
Yeah. The Flanagan mouse. Yeah. That's funny. It's funny because I was watching the Grave Encounters.
It was called the Flanagans.
And that was the first movie that started doing that freaking the wide open. At the time it was great, but then it got way overused with everything. You know?
Yeah.
But I was thinking of that. But here's the funny thing about Tourist Trap. There are two signs going into the Tourist Trap. One of them says something about that it's here, right? It's just ahead, this and that, and then right after there's another one that says closed to the public.
Yeah, and then the scary music kicks in, like dun dun dun. Like I'm like, well, why would that have been the first sign you saw?
Yeah. Why not just take away the other sign so you don't have to have a closed to the public sign? You know what I mean? Why have three signs saying it's right this way, it's right this way? Keep going 1 mile ahead, it's up this road, and then by the way. Close to the public.
So I know Chuck Connors had been in a bunch of films, but why do I know the name so much other than that his name is bigger and bolder than anybody else's on this cast? Like, what other big movies would I have known him from? Because he died in like 92, I believe. Yeah. Who's the guy that hosted? I know it's not him, but who's the guy that hosted The Love Connection?
Chuck Willery. With the help of Chuck Willery, folks going out like the Grand Canyon. And I'm always out looking for a female companion. I know you know that one.
There we go.
Anyway. Well, here's the funny thing about Chuck Connors. When you look at his stuff, he's still going.
It's not still going.
When you go to IMDb, it says died 1992.
Yeah.
How can he still be going? Wait a minute. Filmography, Taxi Killer. 2022, Jenny's father, Mr. Sullivan. Somehow he's in Taxi Killer 20 years after his death. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
30 years after his death.
Yeah. Well, when you go to Chuck Connors, this is actor, writer, director, and is known for Mr. Slauson, Tourist Trap. It's his top bill. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, Soylent Green is also very popular too. Old Yeller, of course, as a kid, we know that one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he was 71, man. That was 57. So his career, I guess, happened. Yeah, I guess this was maybe closer other than this fucking Taxi Killer. 3 days ago, he worked right up to his death.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, he's the Sarge in Airplane 2. Somebody get me the Sarge. How about that?
Oh my God. That's where I know him from then. Shit.
Airplane 2. That's funny. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I've watched that one movie plenty. Wasn't he in like TV movies.
He's in a ton of shit, man. He was in a ton of stuff, but it was just that like there's certain ones that pop out. Now, obviously, Tourist Trap is one of them. Like I'm telling you, as a kid, I remember again at my neighbors. They had this movie. I only watched a little bit of it. I was terrified. And I remember when I say a kid, remember, I'm talking about 11, 12. Like
Right.
it's just that sign of the times, man. I was just like a chicken shit, like you said you were. And that's where the fascination, I guess, came from and why I love it now. Like we've mentioned on the show numerous times, but this still has a creepiness to it that should appease most fans and most slasher fans that want to be completists. If they haven't checked it out, definitely deserve to check it out. It's aged, but it has a lot of the tropes and the look and feel of those classic, you know, golden era of slasher flicks, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean it doesn't feel. It kind of feels like a slasher. The kills aren't really slashery.
They're not
under the
gory.
umbrella,
Yeah.
right? But it's definitely worth checking out. That's for sure. Did you pick up on the Psycho connection? It was just a line that was used as to why the tourist trip isn't busy anymore. It's the same thing that they say about the Bates Motel.
About well, I'm only going to guess because of is it because they changed the highway?
Yes.
Not many people come around here no more.
Right. Same thing. They built the
Yeah.
highway, this and this, and this used to be popular. I used to have 30, 40 people. I used to charge them 75 cents to swim. In this thing he tells those girls, you know, who just get naked in the pool, which again, too bad it wasn't rated R. Tanya Roberts does bear it all in the Beastmaster, apparently. So I was reading up on this. She did Playboy too at the time.
Well, I remember the name. I remember the name for sure. There's no question. This is definitely worth checking out. It's not super fast paced, but it's also not a long movie. So like if you watch the regular cut, it's like an hour and 25 minutes, and the quote unquote uncut version's an hour and 29. So like it's fairly in out done, but you get the separation, you get them looking here and there, but it clicks along fairly well. Most like, you get like the opening scene with that guy, and then it's about another half hour before we get to the next, but everybody gets separated and they get essentially at first they get kidnapped, if you will, that's what happens. And then they start getting killed. One person dies here and there. Like the first guy gets killed, then he kidnaps two of them, kidnaps the third, and then covers the girl's face in latex as if he's going to create a mannequin from her or a mask, and suffocates her from that. Right? That's what happens.
Yes, he does. And that's the thing in my memory. That's why I never considered it a slasher. Every time I think about the movie, I always think about a guy kidnapping 3 people at one time because he wants to turn them into mannequins. And I'm like, well, that's not really slashery. But again, like I said, when I watch it this time, because of those style of the kills and because of some of the feel of it, I have no problem including it now. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I mean, I will. The thing about it is the scary stuff is what works. How about the mannequin's eyes? When the mannequin's eyes move by their own, when they're moving like side to side, they do it a lot in the movie. Oh my gosh, it's great. And then,
but I watched it. I've watched this. I'd say numerous times, but not a shit ton. This has probably been like from start to finish, maybe my 3rd or 4th time seeing the movie in full.
Probably,
but where I'm going with it is, I still am trying to think, do they actually does he say I've got telekinetic powers at all?
Well, he does say something about his abilities, I think.
But it's very kind of, unless I'm, because I didn't watch it at 1.25 speed. I watched it at all right there, but I'm like, unless I missed something, it must have been alluded to, but it's such a throwaway that like it's funny because if you miss that part, you'll be like, what the hell's happening here?
You have 1.25?
So you can have 1.25 pretty much on anything.
Well, no, I mean, if you're watching it on a disc, you usually can't. I know you had the disc. So I know it's not available.
No,
on
but
Plex.
I didn't watch it on, I watched my disc. I didn't watch it, but on Tubi, you can change the speed.
Are you shitting me? On Tubi, you
I'm
can?
almost positive.
Well,
that
changes a few things.
Or it might be a plugin that I put on my browser on my computer that allows me to do it. And so I could even speed up the commercials on Tubi.
You watch on the computer. I watch everything on my TV.
Oh, sometimes I watch it on my TV too, but I'm speaking of two separate things. Yeah.
Okay. Like YouTube, I can watch YouTube at 1.25 on my computer and on my phone, but the app on my TV, it won't let me do it. But here's the fucked up part. My daughter, she can do it, and she has the same make and model of TV.
So weird.
But I've reinstalled the app. I've uninstalled it. I've done this. I've done so many things to make it work. I cannot get it to go 1.25 on YouTube. But whatever.
Well, so like I said, it's not a long film, so I don't think, unless you have absolutely no attention span, it should click along. And like I said, it's the mannequins, the mannequins, the score, the performance, like it's creepy. Like he uses like a combination. Like when he comes out at one point, he looks like Leatherface from the original. Yeah,
it's in my notes right here.
The Sans chainsaw. Yep.
Yeah, Leatherface. Isn't that some shit? Yeah, it does. He has the wig on it. It definitely has that look. It's cool. I like that part at the end with Jerry, when Jerry comes out again and she's there and all that goes on there. That works well. You know, I just don't understand why he took a liking to the blonde girl when his wife was a brunette and Tanya Roberts was right there. Is a stunning brunette. I'm like,
I know that was weird too, but she was a star. That's how they wanted to do it. I'm not entirely sure either.
I don't know. She didn't look like his wife, but the other one did. It would make sense if she did, but whatever.
Yeah. But the end is very maniac-y in one regard. And then so she defeats the killer, let's say, and then we have that Cap-on ending, you know, the Carrie-esque ending, or the ending that like everybody, and there's some, you know, it's Pino when there's some music that actually makes you think of Carrie. And I'm trying to think of where it was, but there's a couple of just the way that he strung some things together.
String stings.
Yeah, it reminded me of Carrie. And but the end, where I'm going with the end, is it's creepy but bizarre. So she sort of leaves in the car, and fills the car up with her dead maniac friends. Or mannequin friends, mannequin friends.
Mannequin versions of it. So she flips out.
Yeah.
Basically, she brings her friends back as mannequins. It's almost like Sally Hardesty bugging out at the end of Chainsaw.
And you're either going to buy into it because of the fact that he could somehow change these guys into mannequins and make them seem like they're alive, or make you believe that they're alive, or it's all in their head, but it's got to kind of play out because there's a Halloween 3 kind of component in there at one point at the end, and you're just like, okay, like someone I could see going, this makes no fucking sense whatsoever, and not being able to get by it and whatever. That's why it's not a great movie. It's a good movie. Like, it's like, I'll just come right out and say it. I don't know, because I'm just cautious of time. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. It's good.
Same here. 7.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a perfect example of good, but if you really want to deep dive, you'll be like, what the fuck was this? What the fuck is that? Can this make any sense? Whatever. It somehow works and makes enough sense, but if you really want logic, you'll probably not have a good time.
Exactly. You're not gonna have a good time. No, you'll go with it. You'll enjoy it, I'm sure. Most people seem to like this movie.
Yeah.
So
it's that atmosphere, that's the mood and atmosphere that a lot of movies strive for and fail. So at least they've got that going for it throughout.
100%. So yeah, with a rating of a 7, stay tuned. Stay tuned to see if it lands on our list. You would think
in a standalone slasher, you'd think that definitely is going to be it. Now, here is our next film, Sissy, from 2022. And according to IMDb, it says it was an NC-17 rating. So I guess it just didn't get submitted. Who has an NC-17 rating this day and age?
Weird. I don't know.
I mean, now it feels like you can get away with anything. and have
Unrated.
18A or I guess it's unrated. So here's the synopsis on the B. Teen best friends Cecilia and Emma run into each other after a decade. Cecilia is invited to Emma's bachelorette weekend, where she gets stuck in a remote cabin with her high school bully and a taste for revenge. High school bully. They look like little kids at the flashback, so I don't know if that's right. They look like they're in elementary school for sure.
They're 12. They're 12 years old going on 13 in that. And this is at least
Australia.
10 to 15 years later.
This is Australia too, so maybe it's junior highs. Maybe they're at junior high.
Oh, maybe. I don't know what they're at, but I'm saying they're 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And then, because they talk about it, because her 13th birthday is when they make that video, actually, that we keep seeing.
Yeah.
And when she bumps into her at the pharmacy, she says, how long's it been? 10, 15 years? So it's at least that. But this is a real easy movie to get right into. For me, it's just, it's I can't call it a comfort movie because it isn't like a comfort movie that I'm going to watch all the time, but it's a comfort movie in a way where you can sit right down and you're immediately with the main character, with their point of view. She's endearing. You kind of see what's going on. You know, she has this YouTube channel and she's doing okay and she's at home, but she's just living in this apartment, it looks like. And then she goes to, you know, you can see that she's nervous when she first sees her friend that she hasn't seen in a while, and that something happened in the past. And I think most people have been there where you go, at least I know I've been there because I'm a lunatic, but where you go to a store or you go out somewhere in public and you see somebody you haven't seen in 10 or 15 years. And a lot of times I just don't want to get into it. I just don't want to engage. So I'll leave. And it's almost like that. But of course, this situation is because there's a level of embarrassment and they used to be best friends. That's a little different.
She does try to leave where they interject a little bit of welcome comedy. This does have, you saying it had no comedy. There's comedy here in this one.
I don't think there's any comedy. There's a tad bit of humor like there would be in a Friday the 13th movie, but there's nothing ha-ha about it.
Well, I don't know. I think there's like a sort of a dark comic tone to the whole movie. But they're like in the run-in with the pregnant girl, it's funny because she keeps bumping into this pregnant girl that's in the store, but she tries to hightail it out of there, but they already made eye contact so that her friend comes to seek her out, which was really good. And they sort of rekindle their friendship. So everything happens here organically, but you could tell there's a mental illness factor. And maybe some people say they shove it down their throat, but I think they handle it very well in this movie, where you could tell that she just strives for likes. In fact, that's her drug of choice, where they've actually showed the pupils dilate or enlarge, whatever. Where
that was a weird choice.
It's kind of like a drug addiction and getting that fix. And her fix is likes and people fawning over her, fawning over her and commenting as her will to live. And we get like this, it's not necessarily goes to the voices level where everything's hunky-dory in her mind, but everything's absolutely decrepit if in real life surrounding her, which is what the Ryan Reynolds movie shows. But it's not far off where you'll see her like, oh, happy-go-lucky, but then you'll see that she's got pizza boxes and a kind of an unkept apartment. It's like, like the music kind of alludes to it as well, but without going to the depths of like there's a frozen head in her freezer or anything like that. Like it just happens to show that it's all facade. It's all a facade. It's all fake. It's not reality. And that's what her life has become. That's the movie's great. Yeah, you're right.
And I didn't think about it I didn't think too deeply about it, like the way I thought about it in that movie. What the hell was that movie? The World's Fair. Everyone's going to the fair. The World's Fair.
Yeah. That one.
Did you see that one?
I did. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one. I know you.
I kind of remember that, but that movie was basically making a statement throughout about somebody that's living this fake lifestyle when in reality it's this, but they present themselves as one way on, for the world on YouTube or whatnot. And I get that. And I guess they are doing it here, but it's not ham-fisted. Which I'm not saying World's Fair was ham-fisted, but I think that was one of the strengths of it. It was part of the narrative, which was cool. I think it was done really well, but that's another story. But in this movie, that was just like part of it, just to say, okay, she's moved on from her, whatever happened in the past, and she has all these people that like her. She seems like she's saying nice things. She's definitely not a bad person. I mean, what we see what does happen, it almost like, and I think they did that on purpose. It reflects that show that they're watching, that reality show. And the one girl's there, the blonde girl, saying, she goes, I don't know why this guy did this to me. She goes, I'm such a good person. And I thought about it later because it's almost like the thing with Sissy. But the thing with Sissy is this: I feel legit bad for her, and I think we're supposed to. And when things happen later and she flips, that's like 10, 15 years of keeping it all in and keeping it together. She's not an active serial killer. She's someone just trying to get by, and maybe he does have some issues, but
the thing that she's trying to get by is that her being picked on made her stick like a little gardening shovel into her bully's cheek.
Right.
And we've got little flashes of it. We kind of know what's happening, but we don't really find out till later. And then when she gets invited to this cottage, as the description mentions, that girl's there, scar and all, doesn't know she's coming, and is flipped the fuck out, rightly so, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you'd figure her friend would have checked in with her on that.
Right. She snuck her in.
She knew about it. So that it's not weird, but maybe she wanted a reconciliation, even though that's kind of weird if you know something like that happened, to think that it was going to be okay, even though it's 10 years later. The girl's got a physical scar from it. But anyway, suffice it to say, the girl's actually, although not totally cool with it, allows her to stay instead of just get the hell out of here, end of story. It gets talked down off the ledge, if you will, and then allows her to stay, even though she's not really happy.
Well, what can you do? She didn't drive. She's not going to send the whole party away. She was kind of put in an awkward situation. And I think that the other girl, the blonde girl whose who's getting married, that was Sissy's best friend when they were children, I think she just kind of snuck her in there in a little bit of a devious type way, because I think she fully remembers, because she says, oh my God, yeah, I forgot that I invited her. She goes, I did it last night or whatever. And I didn't think she would really take me up on it. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think she really wanted her to be there. She's just trying to pull a fast one on that girl, Alex. You know what I mean? And trying to get them together. And she seems genuine to me. Like she seems more excited about seeing Sissy than the other way around. Sissy's just trying to move on with her life, Cecilia now, and trying to do her thing. And it seems like this girl misses her and misses the friendship they have, and wasn't thinking about how it ended, but thinking about all the great times they had. And man, this girl's my sister. I love her. I'm seeing her after all these years, and now I'm getting married. I'm having a happy time. I want to share with my old best friend. And I really do think that was her intentions.
No, you're right. You're right. And
as with Sissy's.
And this takes not a while to get going, because again, that makes it sound like it's boring. It's not boring. It's just you get character development and setup. So if you're expecting a slasher with an opening kill, or a slasher with a kill that happens in the first 15, 20 minutes, no. It sets it up, gets into the cabin. It may be the first turning point, but I don't think it's even that early. I think it actually happens more at the 45-minute mark or beyond, where we actually get the first kill. But then it's like kill, like, and there's not a lot of kills, but there's trust me, it's enough, because what does this do? It's gory as fuck. They actually deliver on all of the gore kills. Even the CG, I assume it's a combination of practical and CG, with the tire going over. Or maybe it's all CG.
Dude, that was amazing.
But they did it well. So
they slow-moed it.
I don't want to jump right to them, but I also have to be cautious of the time frame I've got today. So all the kills are good, and that's what makes this a standout for a recent slasher. And some of them are almost presented as accidental, but it's like the first one happens because her bully from the school is still pissed off at her and is trying to expose her for being a little crazy and kooky and whatnot. And then to stop her, She's about to upload a video that's trying to sort of oust her to all of her fan base.
Followers.
And to stop her, Sissy ends up taking this rock and cracks her in the back of the head, and stops the video from uploading to her tens of thousands of fans at this time, or hundreds of thousands of fans at this time, and no one gets to see it. But then she's got to do something with the body that she killed, so she drags it and tries to bury it. And as she tries to do that, Mr. Limpy McGee comes in the middle of nowhere. Why he's in the middle of the forest with his crutch, who knows? But he comes out.
And he went to take a piss. And
he did an old school slasher trope, which is walk a mile to take a piss.
Yep.
Remember that back in the day where the guy character would always have to walk a mile into the woods so that he wouldn't hear his girlfriend scream, or the rest of the group wouldn't hear him scream, where he got killed because he walked a mile to take a piss instead of just turning around and pissing into the wind. But that's a trope which we've grown up and loved. And so I guess he's hiking out there and he ends up stumbling accidentally across this dead body with Sissy there. And they end up at the edge of a cliff, and she's trying to convince him that it was all an accident and everything, and it's all going to be good, but he's backing up slower and slower and slower. And this guy and then Sissy ends up having to push him off a cliff because another friend is coming out to look for them, and
it's cover-up time.
And that fucking death, him grabbing onto a side of a tree, falling from that, bouncing off the cliff, all in one take, is phenomenally done.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep, it doesn't look too much like a dummy either. Like a lot of times,
because it gets caught up, and then it gets caught up. The way he got caught up they must have been saying, "Holy shit, print, let's move on." Like it was like that, like lightning in a bottle. I don't know how many takes they had to do to get that, but whatever we got on screen there was perfect. It was great.
100%. Yeah, it was great. Then you see him later again.
Yeah,
you see him all fucking gouged up and shit. See, the gore works and the gore looks good. This is what I'm saying. Not to keep beating a dead horse about certain type of movies like Terrifier and stuff. This looks, but the quality of gore in this movie. Now, I don't know what the budget was, but I would still be willing to say that it's an independent movie. You know what I mean? You can make a good independent movie that looks good like this and that has good freaking kills in it. I almost want to look up the budget. I don't know, but what I'm saying is people always have that as an excuse about low budget movies, the way they look and the film stock and the way the gore has a certain look to it, or it looks a little too, rubbery in places and shit like that. That is not this movie. This movie has this is what I really enjoy about this movie. The setup with the character, a female killer, a easy story to follow. I'm a sucker for the female killer. And, the gore, the kills. The story is easy to follow, and it's fun. And I could see people watching like the first 15, 20 minutes and saying, this is going to be lame. It's about this YouTube girl, and she's talking about all this other stuff. And the movie, even the title of Sissy, this is going to be like a girl flick. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like Influencer, but gorier.
Yes, but goes the slasher direction.
Yeah, and more colorful. Like I liked Influencer. I really did like Influencer, but it was a thriller, and although had gory moments or bloody moments, was definitely softer. And whereas this one is slasher kills, like what you kind of expect. Like just like the colors are vibrant, the kills are vibrant, and accents the movie quite well, and kind of delivers on what you want from a slasher film. And like there's that turn of events, like has the girl like another girlfriend that finds her in the car. They're driving back. She stops the car really fast, and the girl goes out the windshield, but she's still alive, which is all directed very well. And then she gets back in the car and then proceeds to run over this girl, and you see it in slow-mo as she runs over her head, and it's just and then
it's awesome.
The girl that she cracked over the head with the rock, or that rock piece, ends up not being dead, comes back to life, and
the end is great.
And then so she slowly makes her way back because half her brain's exposed or skull's exposed, and then she pulls like a guy from Bad Taste, the Peter Jackson character from Bad Taste. Like, I'm surprised she didn't wrap her belt around her head. But anyway, she makes it back to the the cabin, because she wakes up and sees that the guy's dead. I think like that's who runs into it. And then anyway, they all end up getting back for the final set piece, which is good. The police get called, as I made the reference to earlier in the show, where there's a mention of calling the police, but she knocked her best friend that invited her there, the ones that Sissy and her reconnected. She knows Sissy's not right at this point, realizes that Sissy's behind this all. At first, she thinks Sissy's a victim of something, doesn't know what it is. Right. But then when she stumbles across another body, she realizes Sissy's the one that's not too well and calls her a psychopath, which doesn't sit well with Sissy. But the police at this point have already been called or will be called. Again, I'm getting my timing of events a little mixed up. But it turns into a fight between the two of them. Like whether this is final girl versus killer or not, we're not, but it's a fight and they're wrestling on the table. It's like punches are exchanged and they flip-flop. All the while, this girl with the cracked skull makes her way back and not being able to see correctly continues to beat the fucking pulp into a bloody, pulpy mess, the wrong girl into the ground with a friend's crutch. Hits the girl down. It's not Sissy, it's the other girl, but she can't see. And she's just crushing her with her crutch. And Sissy's filming it.
Yes.
And saying, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As she films it. Again, I'm not doing much justice. It sounds maybe a little too rushed the way I'm telling it, but trust me, it flows perfectly. I'm all over the place with my description. Again, being mindful of my time here. And then ultimately, since the cops were coming in, like, the girl realizes it's holding the crush what she's done. She's horrified that she's left her friend a bloody, pulpy mess, which is great gore on the ground. Head caved in and everything. It's disgusting. And that Sissy's filming her and she's beside herself and she gets shot, or you hear a gunshot ring out and it pans up and you see this is where there's a bit of comedy here in a sense, like she is able to reach up to the bullet hole in her head and pull the bullet out, and then the blood starts shooting out and she falls down. Trick. It was fun. It works. It works. And you realize the cop came, probably saw the end result. It's now been recorded. So what happens? Sissy gets off scot-free, which is a fantastic twist to the slasher as well, which we always like.
That's an old school, that's a traditional slasher ending where something like that does happen. You know, you'll see movies on my list and I'll probably mention every time when we do the 50 and it has that freaking ending that I love. And that's it. You don't usually see this in modern type slasher movies. Granted, this movie is not set up like a typical slasher at all. You're following the freaking lead, who's not the final girl, but then again, kind of becomes it, which is great, but it's still not typical at all, but it has the goods where it needs to have the goods.
Well, and I guess where the friend versus friend happens, even though, and that's who you kind of think is the friend, they at least establish that that's who brought her there and whatnot. Does she have the typical final girl tropes or strengths? Not necessarily, but she's put in the position for revelation purposes, but the fight is a quick fight to get it to the end, so it works. So there's really no true final girl in the traditional sense, but I would probably have to give it to the friend versus friend moment, because she's the one that breaks everything with the throwing that book of their memories into the fire, and that's what really sets Sissy off and starts the final fight.
It was sad. See, I did feel bad for Sissy. Because and she couldn't comprehend. She thought that she put all that behind her, and then it got reawoken, and it all came back. And she's like, "Oh, maybe things are going to work out okay after all." And then as soon as she finds out Alex is going to be there, they're going to Alex's house, and she's still in her life. It's sad because then it just gets worse, you know. So,
but
anyway,
from like a pacing standpoint, on point. From a gore standpoint, above average, that we've just said. Like I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. And from an ending, it kind of just kind of nails it as well. This like, it's funny because 2021 and 22, that's where, well, one of them Censor, you had Sissy, you had the columnist, you had the stylist. Like there's a bunch of female killer movies that came out again. So it was, and all of them were worth checking out.
This makes me want to watch The Stylist again and see if I can classify it as a slasher. I remember calling it like a Maniac, but with a female lead to a degree. The other ones, I don't really think of them slashery, but who knows? Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I'll watch The Columnist again. I have watched The Stylist again as well. So,
for this?
Not for no.
Okay.
I think it was before this, but I will have to watch it for the slasher film as slasher show as well. But yeah, I know this is great. I'm not. This made my top 22 list in 2022, if I remember correctly, number 14, because I checked it the other day when we were talking about
it.
And I think I gave it 4 on Letterboxd. But sometimes when I do my half ratings, they don't allow half ratings because it's out of 5.
Right.
So I would say that I probably gave this a 7.5.
Yeah.
And it could, what do you, 7.5?
7.5.
We've been right. Yeah. Right on the mark today. So yeah, but man, it quite enjoyable. And I know Jason Smith is right there with us with this one. He may even liked it more than us, but he really enjoyed this as well. Said it delivered on everything you want from a slasher as well. But I could see people not liking it because it's the modern spin with the social media aspect to it. I could see people kind of dismissing it, but you're doing yourself a disservice because it delivers on so many of the other things that you'd be looking for from a slasher flick.
Absolutely. No, I'm with you.
Except nudity.
Yeah. But, so we did it. Okay. So we'll have to be out of here. It's a little shorter than usual. Hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe next show we do a similar thing. I don't know.
Well, I think we'll keep this going. Year of the Slasher Part 2. We want to keep going. It doesn't mean we can't watch other things and talk about other things here and there, but I think we want to keep this train going until we do it, and some of these independent or smaller ones or one-offs or two-offs, whatever it may be, we definitely need to check out. Maybe do a round robin if we get to the point where we've added up a bunch and then we haven't.
I do have a bunch too.
Yeah,
so I've already watched 25.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna keep on. I'm having fun, foreign, this, that, the other thing. So yeah, good stuff. But anyway, let's get out of here. We love you guys. Thank you so much for everything, for all your support. And you got anything?
Yeah. No, take care, everybody. Thanks for listening.
All right. Manchichi.